Hey, how's it going, everybody? We are back, and it's time for another pre-order roundup. Now, we got a lot to talk about today, as usual, but because I missed out on talking about something that recently happened in the figure community and industry, I might as well talk about it in this video. And if you've been paying attention over the past week or so, then you definitely know what we're about to discuss. Good Smile Company is changing their Nendoroid packaging for whatever reason, to the dismay of literally everybody. I don't think I've met a single person who likes this change. So just to catch you guys up to date before I get into my opinions about all of this, essentially, Good Smile Company is trying to reduce plastic in their boxes by getting rid of the blister packaging as well as the window on the front of the box. And I feel like they really shot themselves in the foot by using this image to highlight what the box was going to look like. Because I think most of us realize that it's not just going to be a white box, but initially seeing this, I think it's understandable for some people to be like, what the fuck is this? And get a little mad about it immediately. But we do have some examples, right? Or at least one example of what the actual packaging is going to look like, because we have this Kano Yamanoichi figure, which I believe is a Nendoroid basic. This one like just came out. It's sticking with that style you're familiar with in terms of like the presentation, but there's no window, right? Everything else is seemingly the same. Though, let's jump back now. So it's not only the outside of the packaging, right? It's the inside. Instead of having this blister packaging, which is made of plastic, they're switching over to paper, or most likely cardboard, but I doubt it's going to be the thickest thing out there. And this was initially my biggest concern. I know there's some other issues people have with this new change, but my biggest problem is that blister packaging is so good at actually protecting your figure. Like for most of us, especially people watching this video, we're gonna be buying these figures internationally. We're importing them, which means they have to travel across the world. And you want protective packaging so that things don't break and that paint doesn't get scuffed. But instead of having this like very specifically crafted molding of the figure and even the face plates and like the little accessories, we're just getting this like box compartment thing, right? And if we jump over to that example again, we do get to see the inside of what this Nendoroid packaging is now going to look like. And as you can see, it's not like they're just throwing the figures in the box. You got that plastic wrap, you got some bubble wrap, even some styrofoam. So there are some steps in place to make sure that figures are relatively protected during transit. But it's still a lot of like extra, material to make sure that they're making the figure safe, as if they could have just stuck with the blister anyway. I don't know, it just feels like this is just extra work when the blister worked fine, in my opinion. But this is a basic Nendoroid. There's no accessories here. You can see like the base on the back of this little cardboard panel, and maybe like a hand or two in the back there, but we don't really know what the main normal Nendoroids are going to look like in terms of packaging. But yeah, that's what we're getting. If we go back to the main page, we can see that we're also getting a parts storage case. I don't really know what this is about. This looks very stupid to me. It's like an extra box where you put the accessories in it for later, but like, it's just like a empty box. It looks like a pizza box, right? And things will just rattle around unless you put your own plastic bubble wrap or whatever in there. So I don't know. I don't really love that idea. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And we're going to be seeing a bunch more of these relatively soon. Kurisu, Taiga, Yoko. In fact, Taiga, which I pre-ordered, is coming out on the 12th of November. So I should have that relatively soon. I can make a video about it if you want. If you think this is interesting enough, I'm going to unbox it anyway. But just to get back on track here, people are pretty annoyed about this. Whether you're like an inbox collector, you don't want to open your figures or not, that's a topic that I don't really want to get into. I think it's fine if you don't want to unbox your figures. I think Nendoroids do have a nice presentation when you like line them all up on the side because they're different colors. Just looks great in my opinion. Very clean, aesthetically pleasing. But if you're buying figures, you probably should unbox them, but at the same time let people collect how they want to. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But it seems like they're going to be shorter, which is a little annoying because now it's not going to be uniform. But that window again, not only do you not get to see the figure when you buy it in case something was damaged, now you have to open it to make sure, but there's also the instance of like scammers. I think that's one of the things people keep bringing up the most, is that there is a chance to get scammed more often on the aftermarket because you're not going to know what the figure looks like when it's placed in the box, and I guess they show you the photos of it. Also, I would like to point out that this is not the first instance of a figure not having a window. A lot of like very premium, expensive figures do not have windows, though it's just kind of expected with Nendos, so I understand why people do like it this way. And plus, way more people do buy Nendos compared to those very expensive figures, which is why I think a lot of people are pointing out that this might be an issue. But if you didn't know, most Nendoroids, or even figures, I think, do have an extra tell to make sure you know it's an official product. And I do have an example right here, gonna go full screen for this one. This is a new webcam, by the way, which is why I'm doing this. It doesn't look like crud. But here's a Raleigh from Dr. Slump. This is the second version with the cat ears. On the top of the box is a sticker with the Toei cat on it, so you know that this is an official product. And a lot of figures do have this, but not all of them for some reason, which is a problem, right? Because here we have Nirachan from Zutamayo, one of my favorite Nendos, and there's no sticker. But I did buy this directly from them, so I know that this is an official product. But I feel like if they're gonna ditch being able to see the figure, like, through the window, then they need to make it on, like, every figure to make sure you know that at least the box is official. And nothing's stopping somebody from swapping the figures after showing you what the figure looks like in the photos. But that could happen with anything, right? Someone will scam you no matter what if they really want to. So you gotta be careful regardless of buying figures on the aftermarket. But yeah, a lot of these Nendos do have stuff like this. Here's Shinchan. There's a green sticker on the bottom right there, and that's not, you know, part of the box. That's put on after the fact. Ultimately, though, this is a change only for the worse, outside of the fact that they're using less plastic to produce these boxes, which is very environmental friendly, which is great. I don't feel like this is more user-friendly at all, so I feel like this is just them kind of trying to cover their asses when this really is like for nobody. This is for them, right? They're trying to cut some costs, which is fine. I'm okay with that, though it sucks that the costs aren't being reduced for the consumer as well. I think that would make a lot of people happy, but that's not the case. Let me know if you guys like this or not. Based on the internet's reaction, I'm expecting all of you to say, no, this change sucks, but if somebody does like it, let me know. I'd be very interested to see your take and perspective on all of this. Very long-winded though, so let's actually jump into the budget figures. There are so many this month. I think I've gone overboard here. I do have a question though. What do you guys consider to be like the most that would still classify as a budget figure? And I meant like price. Because in this video, I'm gonna go up to like 13,000 yen. Basically, if I feel like something is approachable in terms of cost for most people, I'm putting it in this section, but that's very subjective, so I feel like I'm not going to win regardless. But you guys let me know in the comments. I'm very curious. Either way, pop-up parades, we had a bunch of them, including the Pro Tag from Persona 3 Reload. I like to call him a Koto, but I think this is a great pose for a little figure like this. Like, this is such an iconic shot. Very, like, you know, recognizable as the protagonist from Persona 3. Would be great if we got a Kotone figure, the P3P female protagonist. They're not going to do it, considering this is from Reload and not portable, but they should make people happy because Atlas just will not do that for some reason. I'm a little salty about that. Either way, we do have re-releases of Rei, the long hair version, as well as Kanade from, I don't know where she is from. Let's go look it up together. Hatsune Miku Colorful Stage. There you go. We had a pop-up parade of Sunraku from Shangri-La Frontier for 4,800 yen. Very dynamic, this one. Also, this bird head is a mask if you've not seen the series or read it. But yeah, dynamic, and I like that he's got like both of his blades out, the swords, the short swords, which is a lot more you could say than some other figures in the pop-up line, though I guess he is also shirtless. So there's not like that much plastic, and they can afford to put that plastic elsewhere while still keeping the price. Though he does also have some scars all over his body. So yeah, I think that one is pretty good for the price. Here is Toshiro Hitsugaya from Bleach for 5,500 yen. A little bit more expensive. I can say at the very least, you know, not the most dynamic figure out there, just unsheathing his sword. It does look like a character from Bleach. Sometimes they don't get the face right, and considering this is a budget figure, I'm impressed. Also, my friend, I did want to point this out, he told me it's not pronounced Tite Kubo, it's more like Taito or Tight. I think it's supposed to be Tight, like Tight Kubo, which does not make sense to me, but apparently that's how you pronounce his name. So I'm going to be trying to do that from now on. Here is a pop-up, again for 5,500 yen, of Hojo from, what's that show called? The Elusive Samurai. I've seen a little bit of this show. Has a beautiful art style, very, like, energetic and lively with the way characters are animated. But just a simple figure here. Don't love his base. It kind of reminds me of an amiibo. If you've ever bought, like, amiibos, especially the ones early on, like Link, with that yellow P stand that he had. You know what I mean, if you collect amiibo. But yeah, it's just like off to the side, but it does allow him to be lifted in the air, and I guess it gives him a little bit more support. So that's good. Next up, though, I believe are our large pop-up parade. So here we have Shuachan from VTuber Legend, which I have not seen. Just some clips here and there. So I've never seen her wearing this outfit. Very like casual at-home clothes. But she's drinking like a strong zero. I don't think that's what it's called. Gachi Zero, I think that's how you say it. But yeah, she's cute. I like her eye decals, I like the blush, and I like the, I'll call it an orange in her hair. But yeah, it's a cute clip, cute face, cute outfit, simple stuff, 8,800 yen. It's just that price because she is bigger. I don't think there's tons of detail here, but I do think it's a cute one, and it's probably worth the price if you like her. Here is a Liliel figure, the third squad outfit version for 8,800 yen. She is from 2.5 Dimensional Seduction. She has tons of figures out there, but here's one that's a little bit more affordable. Colors are great, though simple, white and pink, not too much shading on this one. A little bit around the skirt from what I can tell, just because of like the creasing. There's like some light, maybe like purple airbrushing around there, which does look good. Not getting a lot of that on the top. But her hair looks good, the eyes again, nice and like vibrant, really stands out to me. And a nice cute pose too to go alongside that. And not too bad on the tummy definition as well. Pretty good also, a little bit of under boob, so slightly saucy. We also have Rem and Ram. I don't know if we saw these announced previously, but they're pretty standard. You know, they're both kind of lifting their skirts on opposite ends so that they're like mirroring each other. It kind of makes them pair up a little bit nicer in my opinion. But yeah, there's so many Rem figures out there that I don't really have too much to say about these. In fact, there's more Ram and Rem figures. These are from Kadokawa, but I believe a different company is painting them. It's Animester, which we're going to see a little bit later on in this video. And you can kind of tell for some reason that it's not like Kadokawa's work. I don't know what it is. They have made some other figures of Rem and Ram. Or maybe it was Rem and Amelia. It was those like Chinese dress figures where they looked pretty sexy. I believe that's the same company that's working on these two, but just in time for Halloween. Kinda. These will come out in July of next year, but they went up on Halloween, so that's at least like festive enough. But you know what? I like these two. For 6,700 yen, I feel like these are pretty dang good deals. Let's get the scaling. This is a 1/7 scale, or both of them are going to be, which makes this even better of a deal. I will say Ram is the winner here. I do feel like Rem looks a little bit cuter because of her expression, but this one's a little bit more, you know, dynamic with the stars kind of gushing and just like spewing out of the pumpkin, which is a little gross the way I described that, but it's a little gooey down there for some reason, which I didn't realize the first time I looked at this figure. Moving on to Kadokawa, we have 3 figures of these idol versions for Iris, Megamin, and Yunyun. These are going to cost you 11,000 yen each, and they're a little small. I don't have the scaling, but they're only about 170 millimeters in height, which I believe was how tall Rem was, and she was sitting on the pumpkin. They're also promising like detail and painting as good as like a 1/7 scale figure. I don't buy that. I feel like these will not look as good as their typical 1/7 scales, but I mean, that's one hell of a promise. So hopefully they turn out well, but they're fun designs for sure. That's going to do it for Good Small Company though, so let's move on to Megahouse. We had some Yuru Camp figures from Season 3 of Ayano-chan and Rin-chan, 8,800 yen. I do wish these were more like 7,000 yen. I just don't really see the justification in these figures, but if you have them, let me know if they're worth it. They just look so small to me that I can't really get behind the 8,800 yen price tag. But I've said this in the past, I do like Ayano-chan. I wish she was in the series more. She's really become a favorite of mine. I do like how these two look. I do like the coats that they're wearing. The colors are nice and grounded and just, you know, has that like realistic, comfy vibe that the series is known for. But, you know, I do feel like they're pushing it a little bit with the pricing. Here is Magia Baiser, or Utena, from Gushing Over Magical Girls. I don't like this figure that much, though I do feel like her pricing is a little bit more justified because of her rather, you know, outrageous outfit that she's wearing. Also that her leggings or pants are just ripped all over the place, so they had to sculpt that in there. But her face just looks wrong to me. I feel like the eyes are a little bit too small. Like when you look at her front on, just doesn't really look like her to me. I feel like we're going to be seeing more figures from this show pretty soon. In fact, a bunch of them were announced recently, though I don't think of Utena. I think of like every other character. But that's it for Megahouse. El Coco had 3 ReZero figures this month. Ram, Rem, of course, and Amelia. The Jewel Princess style, basically fairy style figures. 1/7 scale for about 4,300 yen. That seems like a fantastic price. And I gotta say, these are some of the more like elaborate figures we've seen from them in the budget line, just because like, got the crystals down there, they're decorated with a little bit of glitter, and then they're actually like making an attempt to have them like float around. Like clearly they're attached to the base, they're holding onto it, but it does look like they're aflutter a little bit, right? I like this composition, it's pretty dang good. Especially for this pricing. They could have just had them standing around, but then why make them fairies, right? Here is a figure from BB Buttons of Mirai-chan, a 1/6 scale for 10,000 yen. A scene that is played out numerous times for all of us. We've all seen the girl with the toast in her mouth, running to school, not even trying to hide her panties on this one. So it's a little suggestive, of course. Her face is very cute, though. I do like how big her eyes are, and the purple is a great color to go alongside with her blue ponytail. The shading's actually great on this figure. I really like how the paint looks across the board, the outfit, the hair, the skin. It all looks pretty dang good. You don't even see many figures like this, even though you see it all the time in anime, usually like older anime. But I kind of dig it. I don't know. It's fine. I like it. Here's a figure of Sora. I just felt like putting this one in because he was 6,700 yen. And I never see a figure of this guy because, you know, Square Enix is so tight on the IP. And this one is being made by Square Enix. Frankly, I think they're one of the worst companies out there when it comes to making figures, but the prototype of this guy does not look that bad, and he's very cheap. So if you like Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora specifically, because that's the outfit, maybe you'd be interested in this figure. I think it looks solid. Let's move on to this Koi Koi figure, Sakura Shyness Bunny Hinata for 7,700 yen. I think this one looks great. I really just like the art style. I do know what the art originally looks like, and I think Koi Koi did a pretty good job translating this one into 3D figure form. The outfit that she's wearing, the bunny hood, or I guess it's really just like a hood with like a bunny headband poking through it, but it's still cute. She's wearing fishnets and the high heels, as well as like her underwear and a tie. I don't know, it just kind of works for me. The colors are great. They're simple, black and yellow for the most part. I dig it a lot. Very cheeky too, which adds to the figure. I guess it's like bunny lingerie. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. That would make sense. Next up, though, we have a pretty interesting one. Here is the Shorekeeper, a 1/7 scale from Kuro Games for 10,000 yen. She is from Wuthering Waves, which I've heard a little bit about, but unfortunately do not know much about at all. But she's rather pretty, and the outfit is very elaborate. We'll get some close-up shots for you just to see her face. Her eyelashes almost look like silver to me, which really makes her eyes pop on top of that purple color against the light blue of her hair. A lot of translucent fabric on this one. Plastic fabric, of course, not trying to make it seem like this figure is made out of cloth. But, you know, the top and the skirt and, like, the veil. She's also got this flower base, which she's very, like, delicately stepping on. There's, like, a lightness to her whole character. But the colors are very dark down here. I wouldn't have expected that, but it does contrast pretty nicely with the rest of the palette. She's very pretty. I think this one looks pretty dang good for 10,000 yen. But moving on, we also have a figure of the Sleep Devil Nonos 1/6 scale for 11,700 yen. This one is the deluxe edition. You can opt out and just get something a little bit more simple, but you do get some additional pieces as well, like that hair is actually only included with the special edition that's draping over the shopping cart. But yeah, it's kind of surprising that this is only a 3,000 yen difference, considering the cart is pretty big and there's a lot of extra hair included. So I don't know, it just feels like if you do like this, you gotta go with the deluxe edition, but maybe you don't care about any of that extra stuff. Who's to say? You let me know. Here is the V-Singer Luao Tangyi Summer Sea Breeze version, 1/7 scale for 13,000 yen. Again, this one might be pushing it in terms of a budget figure. This one is being made by Black Ray Enjoy, who I have never heard of before, but it seems to be getting like all the necessary details down for a good swimsuit figure, and at like half the cost too. Got the inflatable ring, which looks nice and realistic with the creasing. Got the wave and the sand down there, a little starfish for some extra flourishes. Little water gun too, actually squirting out water, which is never the case on any of these figures, so that's nice to see. And also you can seemingly take off portions of her swimsuit, like the transparent pieces, if you don't want them. Moving on though, we have a figure from Mythos, New Jersey Midsummer Leisure version. So it's her swimsuit style with those sunglasses that kind of look like bunny ears to me. In fact, they definitely don't look like sunglasses at all in this instance, but I think that is what it's supposed to be. We also have Unzen Sojourn Through Clear Seas, a 1/6 scale for 6,400 yen. And this one, I mean, the butt's just out. Really emphasized here. Pretty face, but also coming with like this basket and like a little pillow on top of that. Very sexy swimsuit, a little bit more sexy than the New Jersey one just because of like the way the strings are a little bit higher on the waist. A lot of side boob as you can see, but really the butt is the focus of this one. She's even like lifting her cheeks a little bit. And speaking of butt focus figures, can't forget about the Sailor Bunny 1/6 scale from Reverse Studio, 8,000 yen. Very good price for a 1/6 scale, and she is really, really cheeked up. This one is kind of a banger in terms of a butt sculpt. Doing a great job here, guys. It is just a bunny suit with like a sailor school uniform on top of that, but I mean, come on. But Reverse Studio also had this cat girl for 7,500 yen on a drawing tablet, kind of having like a eureka moment. She's really like drawn inspiration, I suppose. It's a cute idea. I like it. I don't know if I really like the way they did the stars on this figure, like in her hair and on the bottom of the base. Not that it's bad. It kind of looks like gummy candy. I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but just because of the translucencies and the fogginess of the plastic, I don't know, it looks a little strange to me. They don't stand out as much as I think they should, but I think it's a small nitpick. If you like this character design, I don't think you would really care, and it's cheap anyway, so nothing to really worry about. Here is the White Rabbit Rosu 1/7 scale from Animester for 9,000 yen. I did kind of criticize this one a lot when we saw it at One Fest, and I'm happy to say that it does seem like one of my criticisms, which was that the apron wasn't really connected by the straps, is actually fixed. If I could find a close-up of that, it does seem like they're actually connecting that there. If you didn't watch that video, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, but it was bothering me. The apron looked a little dingy and not really like sculpted very well, but they fixed that. So I like that. The red of like what looks like negligee to me is really nice. I love how shiny. It's like a metallic red they went with. It's a really pretty color along with her pink hair. I think the colors are mostly great, but it's that apron that kind of takes it away from me. So I just don't love it that much, but that's the theming of the figure and the idea, so I get it. It seems like if you do pre-order this one, you will get an extra little rabbit friend, which you could see here, Usagi-chan, little vinyl figure, which is fun. I don't know if that's separate from the one on the base. It looks exactly the same. There's also one in her pocket, which is cute. I like that. But yeah, it looks a little bit better than I thought it would, so I'll give them their props. Not too bad. Also from Animester, though, was the Honey Rabbit Yuna-chan 1/4 scale for 12,000 yen. Super busty character, as well as like super flexible too. The foot is all the way above her head, really stretching her legs out, and also like wrapped with ribbon for whatever reason, but it does look pretty good. Colors are great. Really like the gradation of her twin tails, especially towards the bottom. They're trying to win me over with the fang, and it's working, but I'm not going to get it or anything. Also, I do like how small of a footprint this one has just because of the base. It's really small, which is great. But, you know, just make sure that you have a shelf that's high enough if you go for this one. In fact, let's look up the height. 480. That's huge. Okay, be careful with this one. Here is a Tenatol tall figure of Mai Sakurajima, 10,000 yen. Definitely like this outfit on her. I think it looks lovely. Face is pretty accurate. Only thing I'm not the biggest fan of is her hair. You know, the color shifting is nice, but I don't think that translucency is going to look great, and it's all over her hair sculpt. But the outfit's definitely carrying her. And then there is a figure of Reimu, which I feel like I've seen before. This might even be a re-release, I'm not sure, but always going to highlight a Reimu figure because I love Toho. This one's a pretty traditional Reimu design. It doesn't really deviate too far from how she typically looks. Sometimes she has the midriff, sometimes she doesn't. But as far as like the sleeves and the dress and the ribbon are concerned, this is very familiar territory for me. Either way, that's gonna wrap it up finally for the budget figure section. Alrighty, now it's time to talk about the bigger stuff. Let's start off with Kotobukiya. They had 3 re-releases this month, such as Coco from the Witch Hat Atelier, 19,000 yen for this one. Don't remember the original price, but it's always been a standout piece in my opinion. Even though I don't know anything about this series, it's just such a fun figure to look at. It's very creative, it's very colorful, I think it's great. We also had Yumeko for 15,900 yen. A little bit of competition these days with Union Creative, I believe, but they've kept this one very affordable. I don't think that figure is out yet, though, from Union Creative. Maybe it is. Let me know in the comments. But this one's always been very solid, so I don't think you could go wrong if you like this one. And then we also had Sniper Wolf, the Bishoujo statue, for 17,600 yen. I feel like I have not seen this figure in forever. I kind of want to look up when she originally released, but I don't have that information in front of me. Probably just putting this one up because of Delta coming out very soon. But that's going to do it for our re-releases. We also, though, had some new figures, such as Snowdrop by Sakura Miwabe for 25,300 yen. She's a little on the expensive side, especially for Kotobukiya, but that's not really anything new. We have seen their prices increase pretty dramatically over the past year or two, so this is kind of just where we're at right now. It's a very blue figure, very icy. I do like that you see her bra underneath the dress. I just find that really appealing for some reason. You know, I guess I wouldn't care that much if it was just like a very basic flat looking bra, but it's got like the pattern work on it that makes it stand out a little bit more, so I just kind of appreciate the work they put into it. And other things about her design, she's got a lot of snowflakes on her skin, on the chest, on her thighs. You could see probably a little bit better as I go through some of the photos, but also some glitter applied to the dress, which is going to make it kind of sparkle in a sense. Something that I only learned just now is that her hair is actually turning translucent at the tips, kind of like matching alongside the dress, and how most of her dress is that translucent plastic that they're going for. And it looks pretty good in this instance. They're not overdoing it, it's kept under control, and it matches alongside with like the theming of the character. We also had Tomari Mari. This is a VTuber for 20,000 yen. I wonder if she comes with a bonus faceplate. And it does not seem like it, which is weird. Usually they do make a lot of bonus faceplates, but we're not getting anything for these recent releases. Probably the next one, though, for sure. I've never heard of Tomari Mari before, but she does have an adorable design, very nice colors, not too much shading in the main portion of the dress because it's black. Even on the white portions, I wish there was a little bit more, but I do think just the palette kind of carries it a little bit. Her hair, the light pink, and then the red streaks on the inside are pretty striking, so it does have some nice colors to it. The inner layering of the dress being this like fuchsia, and they certainly chose a great pose for her. She's doing the peace sign, matches alongside nicely with her smile, very energetic, very lively. Also, you get that rabbit down there, which makes the price even better in my opinion, because he's a pretty big fluffy boy. So I think nicely priced figure this one, especially for a VTuber. Moving on though, we also had Mahiro, the t-shirt version. Now we did get confirmation that this is also doubling as a swimsuit figure. So 23,000 yen, if it was only a t-shirt thing, would have been a bit off-putting, at least for me, but at least there's like the bikini sculpted underneath. I would still say that's a little bit too much, especially because Mahiro is not a very big character, though I did just realize right now that this is a 1/6 scale, so I'm gonna reel it back a little bit. The pricing isn't that bad because the figure will be of a decent height. Now, we do get a bonus faceplate with this one, and I think it's fantastic. I think this is a selling point for the figure. It's a bit of a shame you gotta go out of your way to get it. I will say, there's some horrible seam lines on Mahiro's arms. Like, my god, could they not have thought of anything else to do regarding just like the piece swapping of this figure? I understand it for the t-shirt, but why does it also have to be the arms? I feel like a lot of people are gonna hate that to the point of not even picking up this figure as a result. It's a great concept. I just wish they would, like, fix those arm seams because they are atrocious in my opinion. But yeah, I think that's it for Kotobukiya. Let's move on to, I guess, Megahouse next. Now, outside of those Melty Princess figures, not too many new releases, but we did get the Jinbei re-release for 33,000 yen. Now, that's a ton of money, but at the same time, his aftermarket prices were like over 1,000 bucks, I'm pretty sure. Maybe even more than that. You would have to ask Derek, because I have no idea. But, I mean, it's Jinbei, right? He's the GOAT. He's one of the best characters in my opinion. And this is your best opportunity to pick him up for a recent price, because they're probably not going to re-release him anytime soon after this. I say that knowing that I'm not going to be getting this because I don't collect One Piece, but when I want to start, I'm going to be kicking myself in the ass because I know I'm going to want this figure. So you should get it if you like him. Here is a Gintoki figure for the 20th anniversary for 24,000 yen, a big markup as they always are. Yeah, I never really liked this serious version of him, but I understand why some people would. I do like how fluffy his hair looks on this figure, and the sword does look dope. Like the dragon hilts, pretty cool. Here is a Lacus Klein re-release from Gundam Seed, 27,500 yen. I'm not even sure if they like increased the price on this one, but that price is atrocious, even though she's very pretty. Even though I like her character design, I just feel like they're kind of out of their minds with that one. Next up though, here we have the, speaking of very expensive figures, here is the Lucria Blue Archives Asuna for 35,000 yen. Now she's about 250 millimeters in height. I don't know how that compares to the Max Factory figure, but it's a respectable size for sure, though I don't think anybody was expecting 35,000 yen for this figure. Now granted, it's nice to get Asuna in the maid outfit. Nice that she has her gun, and I think she's got a great hair sculpt as it's curling in a little bit towards her. Shading looks excellent, and I really like the blue on this figure. The ribbon, like the gradation of like slightly different shades looks excellent. Even like slightly applied to the halo as well. It's kind of turning into a light green at some of the tips. I think her face is pretty. I don't know if it looks a little bit off. It kind of looks off to me, but I don't play Blue Archive. While I do like some of the colors on this figure, I also don't think the shading looks immaculate across the board. I think the white and the black portions of her maid outfit are pretty flat, right? Thankfully, there's some creases in the apron, which will help cast some shadows, which will just help it look a little bit less monotonous, but at the same time, I think they could have done a little bit more. As a side note, unrelated to that, I guess looking at other angles of the figure really shows you how much she's pushing against her chest. You might like that. But yeah, the real selling point for me is her hair. Like, that looks so good. It's just very visually appealing to look at. The volume is just wonderful here. But yeah, I think they're kind of out of their minds. Again, I feel like Megahouse is really bad when it comes to pricing these days. Also, her face looks worse here. I don't know what it is. Might be like the button nose or something. It almost doesn't even look like her at this angle, but again, what do I know? I don't play Blue Archive. But there you go if you're interested in Asuna. Our last figure from Megahouse though is actually one of my favorites I've seen from them in quite some time. I've been really debating picking this one up, but I have not yet just because I feel like it's a little overpriced. But here we have the Gundam 0080 War in the Pockets Christina for 23,000 yen. It's a very simple figure, but I think she looks gorgeous. I love her face, love what they did with her lips, love what they did with her eyes, and I like this pose a lot too. It's really different. This one just kind of nails the personality of the character because they're basing it off of art back when this originally aired. So it has that like authenticity to it. I really, really dig this one. Now, if you've never seen War in the Pocket, do yourself a favor and go check that out. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. It's probably not, but like, this is worth seeking out. It's an amazing 6-episode OVA. You don't gotta watch any other like Gundam series to understand what's going on here. It's just some good ass media. So do yourself that favor and enjoy. It also kind of takes place during Christmas, so it's kind of like a holiday thing if you want to get a little depressed during the season. But yeah, I don't know, from the colors to the sculpting, this all just really works for me. Apparently she's also going to be getting like an extra bang piece for her hair and maybe like a faceplate. I don't know if they say that here, but it did say that on the MFC page. So we don't even have the full picture yet. Honestly, I think I'm just being a bit of an asshole because when are we ever going to get a figure for again? Like 23 is a little bit too much. I would have preferred 20, but that's not even like that much. It's just like my critical brain looking at this very simple figure of Christina just like slouched down, doing a stretch, right? Hands on the knees. It's good. It's great even, but like, I don't know. It just feels like it should be a little cheaper. When I get the shipping and this ends up being a 30,000 yen figure, it's gonna make me a little salty. But I also should just shut the hell up and get something that I know I'm going to like, and I know I'm probably gonna keep for a very long time. Something that you don't know is my girlfriend has a ton of Gundam figures, the only of guys, so this would be the only girl figure in our collection from Gundam. But at the same time, great place to start, and I know she likes War in the Pocket as well. So I'm gonna keep thinking about this one. Also, I guess I should just point out that there is an underboob thing going on here just because of the tank top that she's wearing. You might not like that, but when you view her from the front, you don't get any of that. But hey, maybe you do like that. Maybe that's a bonus for you. Either way, that's a lot of rambling, but just one of my favorite figures of the month, so we're gonna be biased, all right? All right. All right, let's talk about freeing next. I'm on Hobby Link Japan's website, and for some reason, they're not showing me the price in yen today. I don't know why. I'll try and fix that for next time. I might, like, edit in the pricing, because it's kind of bugging me a little bit. Like, the dollar is not universal for everybody, so I don't really like that. Either way, we actually got some re-releases this month for the first time in a while, including some bare legs of Shin Ikitosen's Ryomu Shime, as well as Kano Uncho. So both of these just don't have their fishnets, but they're going to be priced pretty similarly to their fishnet counterpart, right? Here is a normal re-release, though, of Erina from Food Wars, which is kind of surprising. But what's more surprising is this figure of Ikumi Mito, the normal bunny version. So originally, she was in a swimsuit. These are the exact same colors, but now she's just wearing a traditional bunny suit instead. Nothing creative, nothing interesting, just putting the bunny suit on instead of a bikini, which I guess would fit alongside the other figures a little bit more. But it's weird this is coming now. But at the same time, maybe it's not because they just want this to go alongside with the other bunny figures. And then the bikini version is going to fit alongside these next two figures. So Rindo is getting a bunny bikini version. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe these are the same colors as the bunny suit version. It's like a violet, but it's very glossy. It looks good. And as always, she's just got like a great expression. Her face looks amazing, but you know, it's kind of surprising they're doing this. As you can see, Erina is also getting a bunny bikini version. I think they're the exact same price. I assume this translates to about, 36,000 yen or so if I had to guess. But yeah, kind of just out of nowhere, just for the fun of it. Thankfully, the poses are different this time. Moving on, we have a pretty suggestive figure of Senran Kagura New Link's aircraft carrier Yumi. And there seems to be some like battle damage to her design. Her outfit has some holes in it. Kind of wish there was some like burnt edges around that, though maybe it's not from like bullets or being shot at or something. I don't actually know. But I think that would have gone a long way to make the detailing look a little bit better. But let's not beat around the bush. I think the main appeal here is the fact that she's only wearing tassels and then pushing a scroll in between her cleavage, making this as like suggestive as possible, a very saucy but not plus 18 figure unless I'm wrong on that, but I have not read about any cast-off features on this figure. Just seems like it's very lewd. I will say I just noticed that her pattern on her kimono is like a runway. That's kind of fun. But you also get those snowflakes on the sleeves. Pretty good. Colors on this one are nice. The concept, though, is a little out there for me, but it looks pretty good. Here is Butareba's The Story of a Man Turned into a Pig. Jess, she is getting a bunny-style figure. Black suit, no extra flourishes, nothing fun, nothing creative. I don't know. She looks pretty cute, though. I like the expression. I like the blush, but that's about it. Here's a 1/6 scale of Megami Kato, bunny suit version 2nd. So this is a 1/6 scale. I don't remember what the original figure of her looked like in a bunny suit. I'm assuming this is a different pose. Hopefully it's not just a different color. That would be a little lazy, a little boring. This one's a lot cheaper because she is a lot smaller. And I should have mentioned that Yumi is a 1/7 scale. I don't think I said that, so keep that in mind. This figure is much smaller. Still a pretty expensive one despite the size. So yeah, it's a very safe style for a bunny suit figure, right? Though I will say, I like the light pink. I think that was a great choice for her. Moving on though, we have an Ultria Pendragon Lily figure for about $350. I'm assuming that's roughly like 45,000 yen or so. It's another 1/4 scale, and it's pretty much like what you would expect a Saber Lily figure to look like. It's not very exciting, it's just big. I think my monitor is messing with me though, because her leggings and shoes look jet black. It does not look like there's even paint on these leggings. Like, I can't see it. I don't know what's going on. In that monitor, I think I could see like her knees a little bit better, but I'm getting tripped up here. It just looks like there's an error in these photos. It's so strange, but I can't show you what I'm talking about. I could see the heels here, but yeah, not in those other photos. It was really weird to me. Maybe if you had like a really nice phone, you could tell what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, it's a Saber Lily figure. She looks good. And then our last figure from Freeing is none other than Nikkei's Rupee, the Rabbit Deluxe version, for roughly around 45 to 48,000 yen, which is pretty up there, of course, but I think a lot of the reasoning is just because her hair is enormous, and there's a lot of individual strands twirling and curling about, just kind of like going along its own path. I think it really looks nice, alongside with her face, which is very cute to me. I love her snaggletooth. She's also got a shawl around her shoulders and elbows, which is this piece right here, which is made out of a fluffy material, which is also the case for her tail in this instance. Not every bunny figure has something like this, but hers is going to be fluffy instead. And of course, it's a pole dancer figure, which is fun. I like that. The golden ribbon around her neck is rather nice too. I like the paint there. I will say, I guess just noticing now that the little fluffy ball around her ankles is not made of that fluffy material. They just sculpted that. So I'm wondering why they even bothered with the tail. They should have matched that up, in my opinion. Moving on to Good Small Company's store and everybody who sells on it, including Wave, who is relatively new. I think they started this month on Good Small Company's site, which is kind of nice because I do like some of their figures. And they had 4 this month, including the Kurisumakise lab coat style for 18,500 yen. Now this one's pretty fun. I like the base. It's the lab member pin, and it looks nice and shiny down there, that gold paints. And I think it even has like a texture to it. And then the pose, of course, the L Sai Kanguru. I really wish she was covering her face a little bit. I feel like they kind of backed out of that just because they wanted you to see her smile, make the figure a little bit cuter. But if her arm was lifted up so that her mouth was covered up, she would have looked like slightly more mysterious and cool and a little goofy. And I think that would have, in turn, made the figure a little bit more charming. Also, there's some extra expressions. Wave loves bonus expressions, which we'll see later on with the next few figures. Though I'm not sure if the next one actually does include any extra faceplates. This is the Odaiba Gamers poster girl, Setsuna Yuki, for 16,800 yen. This character is from Love Live, most likely one of the newer seasons of it, which I have not seen personally. But yeah, it does not seem like she has any bonus faceplates, though the price is a lot cheaper, most likely because of that, right? So yeah, this one's kind of like a promotional thing in a sense. I'm assuming this is like maybe the standee that's in front of the store. Haven't been to the Odaiba Gamers. I like the 2 different color thigh highs, and the board actually looks like it was written on with chalk. That's a great detail. Next up, we had Aruru from Dragon Maid, which I think only looks okay. It's a little goofy looking, but it also does depend on which faceplate you're going for. Now, not only do you have like multiple faceplates, but you also have multiple like chest pieces if you want to cover her up or not, which I guess they didn't have to do, but they did decide to give you that option, which is nice. Also, outside of the dragon claws, which do look sick. And I really like the extra like lining that's placed on the claws and on her horns just to like match the style of the anime. But yeah, there's actually another swappable piece I haven't talked about yet, and it's her hands, her human hands, like when she tries to make them for the first time, and they're just like little circular nubs. It's funny. It's a good reference for sure. I don't know if it's worth increasing the price just for this joke, but it's so stupid looking that I end up liking it. Like it circles around to being kind of a good idea. At least to me. I think the real issue with this figure, even if you don't care about some of these pieces though, is just that like her cloak looks a little bit too flat. Like the paint could have been a bit better. There's like no creasing in it at all. It's really smooth, which is fine, but I think it kind of hurts the appearance of this figure. I guess like by the arms, it creases a little bit, and by the tail because it's so big as it's poking through. Now, last up from Wave is definitely my favorite figure from them this month. It's Kikuri for 24,800 yen. That's a lot of money, a lot more than I was expecting, but she does have some optional stuff that we'll go through right now. So outside of this blushing smile, we also have the crazy eyes as well as both eyes closed. She's like full on blushing because she's drinking, and she also does come with her sake in the box, right? Which, I mean, she kind of had to. Well, I guess she didn't have to, but it's a great idea that she did. And I think I like her the most with this pose. Like, she's really into the performance. She's drinking at the same time. It's kind of hard to choose a best pose and like setup for her because they're all pretty good. And truly, a lot of this is unnecessary. Like, they could have just left it at this one because this is how we first saw the figure with the crazy spiral eyes. And a lot of people were on board with it already, but they gave us so much. An extra arm and the Onikoto and the 3 face plates. Like, they definitely went above and beyond here, and I do appreciate that. And the pose is perfect for her. I like that she's standing on the amp or the speaker. I think it's a speaker, rather. Not to mention, some of these Bocchi the Rock figures do not put the strings on the guitars or the basses, yet hers does, the bass. So, like, that's already enough points for me to make this one worthwhile. While I do think this price is still a little bit more than I wanted to pay, thankfully, right now, as recording this video, there's a coupon on Good Smile Company for 15% off, like, anything in the store that's available right now, pre-order or in-stock item. So, like, it's a perfect time to pick her up, and the coupon works with multiple figures if they're all in the cart at the same time, from what I've heard. Though I haven't placed my order yet, because there's at least one more figure I'm absolutely buying, and that will definitely take priority over this one, but like this is most likely also getting bought by me. Now moving on from Wave, we have S-Fire. Here's Alia for 25,300 yen. I feel like that's pretty damn expensive for what this is. At the very least, you're getting the school desk and her socks are laid out on the ground, even wrapping around the bar on the bottom there, which is a nice touch, but there really isn't that much going on here, and in comparison to the Wave figures, there's no bonuses. This is all the figure is. They do mention at the bottom that they're doing something to her skin to make it very smooth, so I guess just, you know, nice to the touch. Some figures do have that, and it's a nice bonus when they do. Though I really wouldn't recommend repeatedly touching your figures just because you're gonna get like the oils from your fingers on them, so, you know, you don't want to mess them up or anything. But yeah, she's basically undressing here. That's the point of the figure. Little suggestive, but not too much, just showing the thighs, the feet, I guess, but, I don't know, pretty straightforward. Think it's a little bit too much money, though. Here is a figure from Enso Toys. What is her name? I don't know if that's the series or her, like, name itself. I don't know, I guess we'll leave it at that, but, yeah, 16,500 yen. This one, I can't show you everything because you can take off the short shorts, but, like, the lips down there, man, they're really out there. That bikini is really hugging her skin tightly. I'll leave it at that. I will say her smile is very endearing. I do like the grin, the teeth, right? The eyes squinted a little bit, and the hair flowing in the breeze. It's a pretty good setup, but yeah, you're gonna have to go out of your way to look this one up because I feel like I might get in trouble. Even this one photo, little risky. I will say the sand looks more like dirt in this instance. I don't really love the sand texture down there for the base, but I do like that the sand is actually molded around her body, like the thighs, the butt, the feet, the legs, so that's a nice detail. But yeah, moving on, we have a figure from Solar Rain of Yomu, the half-human, half-phantom gardener version for 27,500 yen. This one has been really tempting. I don't know if Solar Rain is actually a good company, but my god, is this like her coolest figure yet. And it's a lot of money, and I already have a figure of Yomu, and she's not like my favorite or anything, so I don't know if I need to jump on board this, but like, that coupon code could be used here too. I don't know if I want to be pre-ordering too much, but it's just like so dynamic, and I love the ghostly spirit around her. She usually has something like that, but it usually doesn't look like a blue fireball has been cast. It's so rad here. But yeah, just like the energy on this one, the lunge that she's doing, the shading on the dress. I will say the one thing that maybe I wish looked a little bit different was her eyes. They're a little dull in terms of the colors. That could just be the shadows being cast from the hair, but I don't know, they look a little off to me, and it's hard to explain exactly why. This is so cool. Even the base itself, the broken, smashed up lanterns on the staircase, that's so rad. This figure is dope. I'm speaking highly of it, and I'm not pre-ordering it. Something's wrong with me. Either way, we move on now. I keep losing my tabs. Here we go. Here is the Rurouni Kenshin 24,000 yen figure from Proof. This one's got a kind of similar vibe to the Yomu figure. Not exactly, but it, you know, just because of how dynamic it is, the emphasis of the flow and the movement of the wind, the leaves, and his hair, right? I feel like this is one of the better figures of Kenshin I've seen in quite a long time. I mean, not that he has that many, but this one's definitely a bit more of a spectacle than the other few. I feel like they're trying a little bit harder to bring Kenshin to life here. And it's definitely an instance where the effects aren't just thrown in haphazardly. They feel pretty thought out, and I feel like they actually do add a lot to the sculpts. Here is a re-release of Rem, the Yukata version, for 17,300 yen. This one is made by Kadokawa. Not sure how much of a price increase was put on this one. Hopefully not too much, considering it's below 20,000. I would like to assume they didn't do anything too drastic here in terms of the pricing. Kadokawa also put up their Holo Yukata Beauty version for 20,900 yen. Now, I don't think we get too many, like, sexy Holo figures, if that makes sense. Like, this one is certainly making her look very alluring as her kimono, or yukata rather, is opened up. The chest is being covered only by her hair. Her legs are really emphasized, like they're showing off basically her butt at this point in this one photo down here. But man, her smile is so good. That is such a great, endearing smile. Like, my God, they did a great job with her face on this figure. I do really like the sunflower pattern on the yukata as well. I think that's really charming and very fitting for the character. But yeah, I think this is just an instance where, like, the face is carrying the entire thing for me. And frankly, she could be wearing like a bag like over her entire body, and I would still like this just because I like her face that much. The wooden frame looks pretty good too. So does the bed sheets. This is honestly a really nice figure. It just doesn't work with what I like about figures. I hate that it's laying down, but man, she's got a wonderful face and a lot of good details in this one. Next up is the craziest figure I've seen on Good Small Company in quite some time. Shin Japan Heroes Universe statue set of 4, including Kamen Rider, Ultraman, EVA Unit 1, and Godzilla. That's such a fucking cool idea. This is massive, by the way, and you can buy them all separately, but doing the math, and I don't have that math in front of me, you actually save a ton of money by buying them together as one set, like around 100,000 yen. It's kind of ridiculous, so if you do like this, absolutely go for the set. But it is nice that you can just buy these individually. And yeah, if you look down here, Godzilla, where is he? 560 millimeters, like that's huge. And he's obviously the biggest one, but you got the EVA Unit 1, 510, Ultraman's 400, and Kamen Rider is 300 millimeters. So they're all decently sized figures, and they just look so spot on. Like, they're really, really nice statues for, you know, this random set that's just going up on Good Small Company out of nowhere. Especially Godzilla. My God, does this look awesome. Oh, and also apparently if you buy them through Good Small Company, you get like an LED gimmick, which I guess is mainly for Godzilla. I can't believe they would leave that out of other stores, like versions of this figure, but it is what it is. But yeah, very cool to see, and I should mention really quickly that Good Smile Company are the ones working on this, which I didn't know until now, so I kind of messed up not including this with the rest of the Good Smile figures, which I haven't gotten to. But yeah, I think that kind of guarantees that these are going to be like of pretty dang good quality. But let's move on now. Let's jump over. I got to close some tabs here. DMM Factory is next. I don't really have too much to say about them this month, but here is the illustration collection figure Toshiue Kanajo for 36,300 yen. Pretty interesting palette here, just black, white, and blue. The dress, or just like the outfit, I'm not even sure how to describe it. There's like a couple of layers to it. The bottom portion has like a mermaid dress thing going on. I guess the big highlight for me would be her twin tails. The braids look great just because of like how many individual strands are kind of broken off. There's just like a lot of detail and attention put into her hair. And while the white portions and most likely the black portions as well of her outfit look pretty flat in terms of the paint, I think the shading of the blue looks really good, from the tulips to the ribbons, even like the coffee cup. Like all the blue paint on this figure looks really dang good. Here's Memcho, the Bazuraze fashion version for 27,500 yen. I feel like I've complained about this line a little bit too much. You know my problem with it. It's just a little bit too much money for what is essentially a date style figure that Good Smile Company would make for like 10,000 yen less. So it's a bit of a shame. I don't think these figures are going to sell that well, even though in this instance, I think Memcho's figure is excellent looking. I just really like this coat. I like the pattern work on the bottom. I like the vibrant colors that those patterns bring. I think the shading on her hair is excellent, and her face is adorable. The eye decals are really like stand outish to me. I just like how they're designed, and her pose is great as she's like kind of live streaming on the phone, right? Or taking a photo. Can't tell, but it's something like that. Yeah, the fashion works. The colors work. The design works. It's too much money. It makes me sad, so we should move on now to Phat Company. They had 2 re-releases, including Twin Turbo from Uma Musume. This figure actually became a little bit hard to find. For some reason, it's limited quantity, perhaps a fear tactic just to make sure you actually pre-order this one this time, but who's to say, maybe they just don't want to overproduce this one because it's a pain in the ass. It's not worth it for them, and I could totally understand that. And they're also re-releasing their Ryuko Matoi Kamui Senketsu version for 16,800 yen. Really nice of them to keep the price that low. They definitely could have raised this one a lot if they wanted to, but they didn't, and I do appreciate that. I really do dig this one, but she takes up so much shelf space because of the sword that I just don't want to deal with it. But from what I've seen, I think this one turned out pretty good. I think I'm going to take a quick break after this one just because I feel like my voice is straining a little bit. Might as well chill out for a minute or two. But here is a new Albedo figure from Phat Company as well for 34,800 yen. This one's got a really lovely face, but it also doesn't really remind me of Albedo at the same time, at least in comparison to some other figures. Like, I like it, but I'm not sure if it's like on model enough. But at the same time, I don't watch Overlord yet, which I keep saying, and I'll do eventually. I'm sorry, but I'm just, pointing out from an uninformed opinion that I feel like this looks a little different from how I'm used to seeing her. Now, that being said, I do think the sculpt's excellent here, and I do think the paint looks really nice as well. I guess most obviously is her wings, which are really large this time. I don't remember the individual feathers being this big on most Albedo figures, but the wingspan is crazy. Like, not only is the base itself gonna be big, but the wings go past that. Other things about this figure, though, that are pretty good. Her dress is a little damaged around her waist, like the thighs over here, just this one section from the looks of it. But it's also really, like, wrinkly and loose around the chest, which is interesting. I don't know if it's falling off of her. Correct me if I'm wrong though, but I'm pretty sure this like golden spiderweb jewelry piece or whatever it's supposed to be is typically around her neck and kind of extends down the chest, which is why this looks so different. I guess like her outfit isn't really being held up in the same way anymore, which is why it looks so loose around the boobs. But yeah, a little bit of lip gloss too. That's a nice touch. Yeah, let me know if you guys like this one, if you're a fan of Albedo. Because I'm ignorant. I just think it looks pretty. I just think they did a good job here. Alright, that was a big break, and by that I mean I fell asleep. Let's continue. Here is a Girls Frontline figure, VSK94, Christmas Eve Detective Heavy Damage version, 1/6 scale, 34,800 yen. This one's just not featured on Good Small Company's page. Perhaps it's too inappropriate, though there isn't like anything stated about a cast-off feature, so who knows, though you can take off her robe, which lets you see the back of the figure a little bit more. Also the tail as well, because they want you to see her butt. Of course, that makes sense for something like this, because it's also a heavy damaged version, so the clothing is starting to rip, mostly on the leggings. The lingerie is also ripped by the tummy a little bit, and the, I guess, panties down there. Colors are pretty good on this one, though. The light blue and the red of the robe and her light blonde hair, I think that all really combines nicely together to have a really, really appealing palette. Whether or not you like this, I'm gonna say wolf thing going on with her hands and her ears and of course that massive tail, that's up to you of course. I don't think you could take off the gloves or the ears, but all of that stuff is part of the original concept, so I don't know why you would want to take it away unless you just really dislike it for some reason. The whole aspect of her biting on it, I guess we'll call it the bra, like pulling on her chest a little bit, is certainly a good way to make this one even more alluring. We'll move on though, back to the Good Smile Company page with another large-chested figure. Here we have the Anise Sparkling Summer version, made by Good Smile Art Shanghai. I know this one is super popular, very happy that it's only 19,800 yen. Now, instead of getting like a beach sandy base, there's like the reflection of what I assume is the beach and like a volleyball net down there. The colors are pretty dark. I actually don't love the base that much on this figure, but I do like the idea behind it. You can kind of see like the palm trees down there too. I'm assuming all of this is like in the original, I guess, splash art for this specific skin in the game, but what would I know, right? They do mention that you can take her off of the chair, which is always a nice bonus, though sometimes they have to like mess with the butt sculpt so that it actually like fits in the chair. Hopefully they leave it untouched, because I kind of hate it when there's like indents in the skin just so they can like fit in like their seat. You probably know what I'm talking about if you have a figure with a chair. It just usually makes the legs and the butt look a little bit worse, but usually you don't see it when they're actually sitting down, so it's fine. But yeah, Anis or Anise, I actually don't know how you pronounce her name. She looks very beautiful here. I really do love her face. I think there's a lot of charm points on this one for sure. The colors are great too. It's really just like white, yellow, and some dark blue. It's a really fitting palette for her, and while this is a bikini figure, there are some extra articles of clothing, like her jacket, which I really like actually, just the plush on the inside, that like, you know, lining, and just that like yellow color's great for her, like I said earlier. Also wearing some stirrup socks to the beach, I'll never get that, but I do think it looks pretty sexy for whatever reason. And yeah, these photos just make it really hard to not want this. But there was another Good Smile Art Shanghai figure, Wu Zhe and Zhang Qilin, 46,800 yen. You're getting both of the guys. I actually don't know if you can buy them separately. Usually you can, and it does seem like down here you can do that, so I guess they're from Time Raiders, right? The concept's pretty interesting. I think this paints a better picture. You don't really get that initially when you first look at this photo, because at a first glance, they both seem to be outside, but that's not actually the case. This guy's staring into my soul. I hate this photo, nothing against the figure, but feel like it makes me a little uneasy for some reason. I don't think I like their faces that much, but I really do like their clothing. I think they've done a great job painting, shading, and just sculpting all of those like realistic creases in there. Everything about like the set dressing looks very pretty and very well done. And the physique for the guy on the left, pretty well done too. I like the veins running through his arms, the muscle definition. Always love it when you can like see the text or whatever is actually supposed to be on the pages, as long as it's like legible. Hard to say exactly because you don't get a great shot of that, but I just like those smaller details in figures. Real quick, let's talk about Good Smell Company. We did mention Kana's date style figure last month. Might as well highlight it again while it's still up for pre-order. She looks like a darling here. Love this outfit on her. And the crepe looks gosh darn delicious. Always gonna like a Kana figure where they do add the pink highlights. And they've done a great job with her eyes. They're so sparkly and red, with like that extra shade of pink in there. It's lovely stuff, as they typically are, especially in the anime itself. I love how they draw these characters in the anime. They also had a 2B figure for 17,800 yen. That's a great price for a 2B figure, even if it's not the most dynamic thing out there. Unfortunately, this one reminds me too much of the Flare figure, where I feel like they did a better job, and there was a deluxe edition that came with the pod, and I guess you could take the face mask off. I'm pretty sure you could do that here, as you could see in this photo right there. A little bit of cheek peek underneath the skirt, which of course you would expect on something like 2B. The lip gloss is also a great touch. But yeah, actually, I don't know if she has two separate like mouths, you know what I mean? I don't know if they're doing different expressions. They're so similar, but the lips look slightly different on the head sculpt without the eye mask. Here is the Hatsune Miku Symphony 2023 version for almost 30,000 yen. I think this one is very like precious in its concept. She looks like she's from the Victorian era with this outfit, but I also don't see this one being extremely popular. Just my assumption based off the outfit. I don't know if this one's for everybody, but she does look very cute here. And I love this dress, and it's like 10 layers. That's kind of ridiculous. There's no way she's lifting this up so like daintily. That's got to be such a heavy dress because of all of these ruffling layers, but who knows? I don't know what that's made of, right? When I first saw this figure though, I thought the bottom here was supposed to be like piano keys. It was just like, from a glance, I saw it off to the side. I'm like, what's going on with her outfit? I don't think that's supposed to be the case, but that's what it reminds me of, and I think that's fun if that's intentional. But yeah, it's a really, you know, muted palette, of course, because it's white and black with a little bit of that light green. I like that application of the green on the inside of the ribbon. That's pretty nice. Going for the translucencies at the tips of her hair, which I think is fine. Turns very white at the end. So we'll have to see how that turns out. we'll move on now to Max Factory. They had a new Uma Musume figure, Pretty Derby's Biwa Hayahide. Max Factory has done some great work for this series. I wish they would experiment a little bit more with the posing. I'm assuming, I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt here, that their poses that they choose are from the game itself. Could be wrong, I don't think that's available to play yet in America. I'll probably give it a shot because I do like a lot of these characters. But yeah, I don't know, I just wish there was like a little bit more dynamism or energy, because they are racing horses, right? But, you know, we're not getting any of that here. Her hair is absolutely lovely. That's probably my favorite parts of the specific sculpt, specifically from the back. This is a wonderful photo, how wavy and curly it all is. Her belts on her shoes are like her heels. They look like axes to me. I don't know if that's supposed to be intentional. Palette's definitely great on the darker side. Can't say I've seen too many horse girls wearing glasses to this date, so this one just feels a little bit different for me. I like that she's pushing them up too. We'll move on now to, if this one loads, Yuka, track version from Blue Archive. I believe this is the second figure we've seen on this page, the other one being made by Good Small Company, where she was sitting on the office chair. Even though she's wearing bloomers, I feel like the other figure kind of emphasized her thighs a little bit more, and I know this character is known for her legs for whatever reason. I guess they're just really nice, and they are nice here, but I guess when you're sitting down, they'll just look a little bit thicker, right? And that'll draw in the attention and grab people's money. But I think she looks cuter here. I like the little star on her face. I think that's adorable. And there's a little bit more creativity, I suppose, in this one. I mean, she is just wearing like a track jacket, right? I'm assuming she's about to do a run or something. But you got these like little android drones flying around, carrying a water bottle. That's fun. Not sure what the one on the left here is doing. But he's here, and we appreciate him. There's also like a robot cat on the bottom, and it's like depleting its battery, doing something, I don't know, needs a recharge, but there's just some fun robotic elements to this one. Plus the bottles too, like the robot's carrying the water and she's holding on to like some vitamin water of some kind. It says like lime down there, but I don't know, they look really nice, and I just like those extra accessories that they've given her, assuming that was all part of the key art that this figure is based on. But I do really like it, and I think this price is fantastic, because anything below 20,000 yen these days is a win, especially for something like Blue Archive. Last up though for Max Factory, this is the best figure that went up this month. I'm extremely biased. Here is Hosho Marine's 30 outfit. So like the 30-year-old outfit, right? Was waiting so long for this figure to go up. And for them to put this up during the window where you can use a coupon code to save 15%, yeah, I think they redeemed themselves for that Nendoroid debacle. Not really, but for me, they definitely did, because holy shit, this looks immaculate. I'm buying it. This figure is a stunner. I am awestruck. I just like this outfit. I don't know what to say. Plus, her expression is spot on. Her smile's perfect. She's got like slightly pointy teeth. I didn't even know that when I saw this prototype go up. Her eyes look perfect. The color, the shape of them, the eyelashes. I forget if her bangs were originally translucent. I think they're making them translucent here, and I think that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, there's also just like a ton of metallic paintwork here. The gold zippers and belts and that red plush material by the boots, right? Of course, the chair is going to be lined in gold. Gotta be as like regal and as royal as possible, because she looks like a queen here. I think they even say down here that they're trying to avoid like glossiness on this figure by using more metallic paint, which I guess is the right choice, because I love the way this figure turned out. The paint apps are exquisite. Yeah, I don't know, I just love looking at this figure. Even just like the pose, crossing the legs. Look how wrinkly the boots are. They didn't even need to be that wrinkly, but they're doing it anyway. But yeah, 35,000 yen. I was expecting this to cost a lot of money. About the range I did expect though, so I'm actually not like put off by that price. And 15% off, hell yeah, absolutely buying this one as soon as this video is done. Okay, let's talk about Alternex. Here is their new Bremerton Hugging Pillow version 1/7 scale for about 27,000 yen. Now this is a concept we've seen in figure form made by Alphamax. In fact, it's the exact same figure, though Alter is trying to change things up a little bit. They included her hat, which I hope there's a good photo of. There probably is throughout the gallery, but that wasn't included in the Alphamax figure. And then there's actually a bonus head sculpt where her pigtails are included, which is probably the biggest selling point for me with this specific figure, because frankly, I think Alpha Max did her face better. I don't really like the face on this Bremerton. I feel like her eyes might be too far apart or something, but she looks a little alien to me right now. And that's such a shame, because I would rather have something smaller like this in my collection rather than the 1/4 scale. That's a personal problem, of course, just because I don't have that much space anymore. But I don't know, it just doesn't really like impress me as much as I was hoping it would. Now, granted, the paint will be a little bit better here, and I wouldn't even be surprised if her body sculpt also looks a little bit nicer here. Not sure if this will be a cast-off, though. I think Alter has done that a few times with the Azur Lane series, but Alpha Max is pretty much known for that. They make tons of plus 18 figures. This one, who knows? No idea right now. Alter also put up a new Idolmaster figure, the Akira Tsunozuka, layered my edgy version for 23,800 yen. If I was buying more Idol figures, this one would be pre-ordered. Can't do it, but the outfit is a stunner. The pattern work, the glitter on the ribbon, the like metallic paint used for the back portion of the ribbon, it's just so goddamn good. And it's such a dark palette too, but they're getting so much out of like all of this black paint, a little bit of silver, a little bit of white, and then like very subtle hints of purple on like the chains over here. I think there's like a stripe on her shoulder and maybe like the hook for her hair, but like that's kind of it. It's really just like a black and silver paint job, which looks so goddamn good. And people love to complain about like darker colors on figures because the shading is not going to be as apparent, but this is just like avoiding all of those issues just because of those patterns and the different types of paint that they're using and the glitter, the translucent ribbon. It's just so dang effective. I don't even get why it has this name though, layered my edgy version. It's funny. I always kind of chuckle at myself when I hear that name or read it out loud, but like, it's just a darker palette. I guess her nails are painted black too. There's some chains and some belts, but like, I don't know. It all just ends up looking pretty cute on her. So yeah, keeping my eyes out for that one. I feel like I'm going to end up with this at some point, but I'm not going to pre-order it right now. Either way, let's move on to, I guess, Union Creative. Here's a new Gridman Universe figure of Akane, the new order version, a 1/6 scale for 22,400 yen, or the limited edition for 29,700, where she's striking a different pose, as well as having a much more elaborate base. Weirdly enough, though, you don't get the other parts for the regular edition, so you have to make a decision on which one you like more, which I'm not really a big fan of, but outside of the base, I think the only thing you're losing out on is the arm, because you do get both expressions with both of them, I'm pretty sure. Honestly, for Union Creative, I think they've done a fantastic job as far as like the shading goes and like the different finishes, like the glossiness of the boots, the shading of the skirt. Her face looks fantastic here, looks exactly like Akane to me, but yeah. I guess we'll move on now. I feel like I have spent too much time on certain figures, so I can't afford to do that for everybody. Here is a new To Love Her Darkness Nurse Series Ryoko Mikado School Nurse version. Bit of a mouthful, 21,000 yen. There's been a few figures in this series from Union Creative, but all of the other characters are just wearing those like stereotypical pink outfits that nurses sometimes wear, mostly in like anime or cartoons, right? But this is her outfit that she's always wearing, so this is the OG nurse from the series, and it's nice to get a figure of her because we really don't have that many. Crossing her legs, she's always been exposing her chest like that. Looks rather like massive on the sculpt, but I guess they were pretty big in the anime too. That's the expression I guess I would expect. Would have been nice to get something else as like a bonus, but it does not seem to be the case. And just some cleavage shots for you, as well as thighs in this gallery. Let's find another Union Creative figure. Here's one I didn't expect to see. Oe Kakizuki illustration VO 1/6 scale for about 27,000 yen. Now, typically when you see this artist designing a figure, it's going to be a cast-off or a plus 18 thing, but that does not seem to be the case here. However, it's still pretty risque just based off the design of the dress. An ample amount of cleavage is being shown. There's really nothing covering her thighs outside of just like the cloth draping through her legs, right? There's a lot of skin being shown here. Outside of that though, you do get this massive chair, which looks very fancy. The cream and gold color scheme honestly looks great. She does seem to have taken off one of her shoes because every figure is doing that these days. I don't know why, I guess I like it though, just don't lose it. And yeah, she's also like a devil girl of some kind. Not sure if she has a tail, but she definitely has dem horns. Anyway, we'll move on now to a flare figure from Ayakashi Triangle of Kazumaki and Kanade. This is like a Halloween get-up figure, right? One's a succubus, one's a mummy, I suppose. I mean, we could focus on how, like, skimpy these outfits are, like Kazumaki's mummy wrappings kind of covering her body, but at the same time still very revealing, and then the succubus thing, not really, like, super inventive or creative, but at the same time, I think it looks great on her, the darker palette, and, like, the gold trimming, and the bright red of the wings and the horns. It's all great stuff. But are you telling me that Kanade is just being lifted in the air completely by being sculpted right on top of Kazumaki? That would worry the hell out of me if they don't give you an extra support. I have to imagine they will, but they're not showing that in this gallery, so who's to say? But for like 32,000 yen, this seems like a really dang good deal, even including this Cats, who's like a Frankenstein monster, I suppose. Shirogane, I believe its name is. It seems like a really great deal. 2 characters and a cat. And they're all themed. It's not lazy or anything. And it's Flare. Flare is a great company. Kind of, underrated in some circles just because they don't have tons of figures flying off the shelves, but they always do a good job. We have a figure from Oriental Forest. This one's kind of a big deal. Chobits Chi, the Soothing Breeze complete figure. 16,000 yen. Wonderful price for a figure of Chi. Chobits, whenever it gets a figure, people get so excited for it. My girlfriend was like, I'm buying this no matter what. Though the thing is, nobody really expected this telephone pole to be so goddamn high. I mean, points for ambition, points for the creativity actually making her this high up. Certainly, if you have a spot for her in your room, this one's gonna stand out. But the thing is, will you? Because so many shelves are not going to facilitate this figure easily. It's not the biggest figure in the world, 420, like if you have some 1/4 scales, you'll find some space for her. But it is a little annoying that they didn't just include like a telephone pole that's a little bit shorter. I think that would have been a good call. Or just like have it, broken up into 3 segments so you just don't need one of them, something like that, right? I would say ultimately I like that they made it so high, but I know this will be in my house, or my apartment rather, and I don't know where it's exactly gonna go, so I know it's gonna be a headache whenever she gets it. But yeah, she looks pretty good. A lot of people complain about her arm, how it looks a bit dead, like she broke it or something and it's just hanging there, which is definitely something I can see. I'm not sure if I fully agree, but I get where they're coming from. The ribbons also I kind of wish looked a little bit, I guess, smoother in its like waviness, like how it's flowing out. Like this one kind of bugs me right here. It almost looks like a bit wrinkly. It's not as smooth as I would want it to be, but thankfully her hair sculpt has that like smooth flow, nice and voluminous, and her face looks great too. Eventually I will watch Chobits. I have not yet, but considering she likes it so much, I'm sure I'll just watch it with her one day, which I'm down for. She introduced me to Cardcaptor Sakura. I think that show slaps. It's pretty good. Definitely for that era, like the animation's wonderful. Either way, moving on, we have a Mythos figure of Ager, Rose Ceremony version, 1/7 scale, 29,000 yen. She's extremely expensive. The other girls were too, but I think Ager is the most money at this point. If I had to pick any of them just based off of character design, this one would be my favorite. I just really like Ager's look. I think she looks lovely in this outfit. I like the glitter that's applied to the dress. The leggings have some really nice shading to them. The chair is as vibrant as it always is, and like the silver ornate decor of it all just makes it look super fancy. I like that she's the centerpiece too. If you did have all 3 girls, which I don't think they're showing in this gallery, she would be the one in the middle. Just noticed how nice her horns look. It's like a darker red to a brighter red metallic paint job, so it's a really shiny metallic gradation. It's wonderful. Love that. Her face looks pretty good too. I definitely like the fangs poking out of her smile. The bright yellow eyes, nice and striking. I am kind of curious what people think about this one, because sometimes people just don't like certain Azur Lane or Gacha game figures because they don't look exactly correct, but as somebody who doesn't know the characters that well, I just kind of view it from what I'm seeing in the figure and it looks appealing to me, but it's an uninformed take. So you gotta just take what I say with a grain of salt. Anyway, here was something that kind of came out of nowhere. 02, made by Proof, for only 20,000 yen. Really good price, considering Proof typically is on the higher end, at least lately they have been. It's the rare instance where we're actually getting a figure of 02 in the, like, school uniform, which is weird that we never do, but we finally do have one. Also, really dig this base, where it's like the, logo of the series, or like the X's, right, and then the circling. Really cool. Really dig that. You do have to have like this acrylic piece keeping it up, but I think that's okay. Definitely should have put that in the back of the figure, but maybe they would have to also put it in the front, and they didn't want to do that. Maybe they could have just connected it to her leg. I guess this gives you the option, perhaps, to not use this halo, but visually I think it adds a lot to the base, so I would keep it on if it is an option. I do like how she's leaning against the base while she's eating her lollipop, right? But I will say, as nice as the concept is, I actually don't know if I love her face. I feel like it looks a little bit off to me. Could be the mouth. I do appreciate the fangs, but it's either the mouth or the eyes. I feel like it doesn't look as spot on as I would want it to. Great concept, great colors, great idea, but I can't tell if there's a bit of a misstep here. Moving on though, I believe this is a re-release of Len, Desert Bullet version, made by Plum, 15,000 yen. I feel like I might have heard this one was very expensive on the aftermarket, but frankly, I don't know anything about this figure. I knew it existed. If you missed out, you have an opportunity to pick this one up. Here's a figure from Love Live Nijigasaki High School Idol Club, Rina, for 21,000 yen. This is the girl who, like, hides her face with that digital display, but you can take the screen off to see her expression underneath, where she's shy, a little embarrassed. I'm sure this all plays into her personality, right? I do like her outfit, the striped socks, and this outfit does have a bit of a cat motif. She's got the cat ears, the cat sleeves, and of course the tail. I think that might be it for Plum though. I'm a little disorganized right now, so let's find another figure to talk about. Here is Design Coco's Atelier Ryza 2 swimsuit version for Ryza, 1/4 scale for 46,000 yen. You would think we would get more 1/4 scales of Ryza considering her popularity. I don't even think Freeing made one for her, correct me if I'm wrong. But we have this new swimsuit figure now. Usually, when I see a swimsuit 1/4 scale, I want them to lower the price because they're really not wearing that much. This is a bikini figure at the end of the day. You got the beach base down there, you got the wave, you got the sand, but what's helping this one a little bit is the inflatable ring and the baskets of fruit. And there's a lot of fruit in there. Bananas and grapes and pears and pineapples. Starfish too, for some reason. Don't think she's gonna eat those. As well as, like, I guess the mats, so that it doesn't get all sandy, as well as a towel. So there are some, like, accessories on this one. Definitely helps the price a lot. The sunglasses look great here. The pose is perfect. The expression is perfect. It also does seem like she might have a slight tan here. I would need to look at another figure of Ryza to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure that she's got a tan, like a slight one. And I think that does elevate the sculpt a little bit. Also, she does have a nice tush. They've done a good job. The bikini's pretty tight on her. Here's a figure of Ulrich von Hutten, made by Anigame, a 1/6 scale for 23,000 yen. Seems like a pretty solid deal considering her getup and this, like, railing iron pipe that she's leaning against. My, like, interpretation of this sculpt is like she's on a break in some, like, alley, just chilling, getting away from everybody. Manju keeping her company, of course, which is cute, just like hanging on as much as possible. And she's got a nice palette. The darker colors definitely complement her character design. The open back of the maid outfit's pretty sexy. And yeah, some good shots. This is kind of what I was assuming. This looks more like a rooftop to me, but what do I know? Also, yeah, her boots, so sick. Super glossy on this figure too. I'm not sure if they're always glossy, but what is that, like 10 belts on each one? Maybe like 8? That's pretty sick. Oh, guess I forgot a Plum figure. So here is Blue Archives Mari, the sportswear version, 21,500 yen, 1/7 scale. That seems pretty fair. Maybe should be a little bit cheaper if you ask me. You do get, like, the fold-out chair she's sitting on, a water bottle just like Yuka had. She seems to be a little tired in this instance, like she just got done in whatever competition she was just playing in, maybe volleyball because there's a ball off to the side there. But yeah, there's something about this, like, natural, kind of grounded approach they took here. Like, they're not trying to make this as cute as possible. Obviously, it's a cute character design, but she's tired. She's trying to chill out. She's relaxing. I guess this is like a memorable scene from the series, but not something you often focus on with anime figures. Either they're trying to be as sexy, as cute, or as cool as possible, and this one's not doing any of that, but it still has that like charm, because it's probably something that you guys who play Blue Archive are familiar with, but it has that like distinction that I like as somebody who doesn't know much about this series. Anyway, we had a random figure of Ryu from Ninja Gaiden. That's sick. Kyoto is making it happen. 22,000 yen for a 1/7 scale based on the character design. I think is perfectly reasonable. The ninja garb, the kunai on his legs, right? His base is like slightly elaborate too. I don't like his name plaque at all. I think it's really tacky. I feel like that should not be included. Especially this font. Like, you couldn't try and stylize it at all. You might as well just use Comic Sans at this point. But the pose is like so recognizable. I think this is from like the collection that came out a couple of years ago. So it just looks like super iconic. It's what I would expect a figure of him in modern times to look like. And yeah, I kind of love it. It's like just what you would expect from a Ryu Hayabusa figure. And for that, I think they did a great job. Next up is a figure from Shibuya Scramble figure. Here is Albedo, the jet black dress version. Frankly, I don't know why they're calling it that, because it looks more like a dark blue to me. If anything, the wings look darker than the dress. 30,000 yen seems reasonable enough for an Albedo figure with her wings out, as well as like this marble staircase and the railing. Doesn't feel overpriced, but I kind of don't think it really looks like her. I had that issue with the Phat Company figure, but that one also looked good to me. This one looks very just meh. This is Albedo kinda. Doesn't really feel like they're focusing on any specific art style that Overlord is known for. It's a nice dress on her. I do like the colors of it for the most part, though I guess I don't really love how they painted the top portion of the dress. Just looks a little bit muddy for some reason. I don't know, I feel like this is a bit of a misstep for them, even though it's not like the worst thing out there. Here is a figure from Prime 1 Studio of Echidna, Glass Edition version. Rem got a figure like this, and I never knew, or maybe I did and I never pointed it out, but you place like a fluffy, base inside of the glass so that you don't scratch up the figure. Makes a ton of sense, but somehow I never recognized that. Either way, I think Echidna's figure just looks better than the Rem one because of the paint for the dress. I think the purple is lovely. It's a wonderful shade of purple, and the extra like black paint applied throughout it, like near the creases, just to add that like extra little gradation, just really enhances it, right? Also, I think her legs look pretty nice too. Very slender on the sculpt, which I think works to her benefit. Here are some F-Next and Yoshitoko collaboration Japanese doll figures for Madoka as well as Homura for about 200,000 yen each. You know how these two go. We've seen this time and time again. Very like high-end materials used for the fabric of the kimonos. I've heard these are ripoffs, like these shouldn't cost as much as they do, which doesn't surprise me, but I'm also not like the intended audience for this type of figure. So this was never going to be something I want anyway. I do love that the bag is Kyubey though. That's a fun detail. Here is a new figure of Miku, the Mid-Autumn Festival version, a 1/7 scale for 27,500 yen. I honestly really like this outfit on her, as well as like the hair accessories, but I really dislike the base. It just looks like slime. I don't know what they're going for, but it's kind of gross. Like, she's holding on to flowers, so why wouldn't flowers be on the bottom of the base as well? But when you ignore the slime on this figure, her frilly socks and the ribbons and tassels incorporated, the pattern on the dress and the sleeves, that gradation on the skirt, there's some like glitter applied there too. It's all really nice. Her face is very pretty. I love the eye decals as well, but gotta get over the base. Well, I gotta get over the base. Maybe you like it. I don't get what they're going for though. This one I can definitely get behind, Alice in Wonderland inspired, right? Though the colors are much darker here, definitely works for her, not complaining about it, but just not what I would have expected. But yeah, there's a bit of worry and panic to her expression, as well as the manju down there, both holding on to pocket watches. I'm assuming they're very late for a very important date. And she's got this like cage dress, which I do dig. The flowers, the roses that are adorning it, as well as those checkerboard sashes behind her. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be, but I do like them a lot. I just like that pattern work. I like the color it puts into the figure. And yeah, she's fun. I guess we could do without this steel beam behind her, but considering I didn't even notice that initially, maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I was also zoomed out. So, yeah, it's probably worse than I'm giving it credit for, but might not bother you that much, who knows. I think this might be our last Furyu figure, Niji-sanji's Yorumi Rena, 1/7 scale for 25,000 yen. They're making so many of these lately, though I do like her design. The pinstripe top, the bra slightly peeking out is a nice touch. The bunny stockings, I guess only one of them is a bunny stocking or legging. Very subtle gradation, you gotta look a little closely, but the shading's nice applied to the legging here. Just some good pattern work too on the dress. There's some like asymmetry going on as we circle the figure. The candy cane wand or staff is fun. It's just a really visually interesting character design. Might be a little busy for some people, and maybe even a little bit too busy for me, but just breaking down the individual components, I do like it. Ooh, I like this, the baked-in hair shine, but it's pink in this instance. That looks really good. But we move on. We're almost done with this video, actually. Here's one that I didn't see on Megahouse's website for some reason. The Orihime 1000-Year Blood War version. Again, my friend called me out, said this was like energy circling her. He said I was a fool, and this is actually called the Saten Keshun ability, which is like a shield that she puts up. Hopefully I got that right. Either way, I feel like they did not get her face right here. It looks weird. I don't know if it's her mouth. I don't know if it's her eyes. I feel like things are a little bit too small when it comes to the facial features. Other angles make it look even worse, in my opinion. The dress is very nice. I love how they sculpted the dress. The billowing is aggressive down there, as it should be, considering she's, you know, casting an ability. But, like, that face, man, I don't know. It's not, like, terrible. Still looks kind of cute, but it doesn't really look like her, in my opinion. So it's a bit of a shame. Couldn't forget about Apex, so here is the Azur Lane Kearsarge All-Night Charge version for about 21,000 yen. Pole dancing bunny figure, couple of extra accessories, or rather like swappable pieces such as some arms, as well as I think 2 faceplates, though I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to get from any of this. Like, she looks kind of mind controlled. Obviously, like, there's this lovey, seductive thing going on, but just the bright, shiny, purple, pinkish eyes, they're kind of throwing me off. I will say, despite the pole dancing being a nice idea, it's kind of a shame that this came from a piece of art that was a spiral staircase instead. Would have been a lot more money, of course, but this definitely looks a bit better. But they did include the manju breaking it down on the bottom there. That's great. And it does still work as a pole dancing figure for sure. The colors are nice. I really like that metallic shiny purple on the band, on her heels, and the suit itself. The fishnets, though, do seem to just be painted on, though. It's not like a fabric material, which is fine. Doesn't always have to be the case. At least you won't damage it accidentally, but just keep that in mind. They are just painting on the fishnets themselves. Very curvy, though, especially her butt. I think they did a good job with her tush, especially in this one photo. Legs look great. And then also from Apex, we had this very pretty dress figure from Honkai Impact 3rd's Kiana Evening Invite version, 1/7 scale, 25,000 yen. This purple and pink starry night sky, almost like an aurora borealis, is just so pretty, and it's a rather like large part of the dress in the front, so you actually get to appreciate it. And you know, looking at this figure for more than 5 seconds, I could see that that's actually applied to her hair, which is stunning. That's awesome. I love that. Not only just the gradation, but the stars as well. That's really good stuff. Getting a shot of her face. Where is it? I don't know if we have a good one up close, but she does have some very pretty eyes. I guess this is the best we're gonna do, but I really like her star pupil eyes. They're pretty distinct. For 25,000 yen, for what is essentially like a, you know, wedding dress style figure, so much plastic is here. I think that's a great price, and I think they did a wonderful job. Alright, we're basically done at this point. Here is the Azur Lane Shinano Dreamy White Sands version for 23,000 yen. Considering the mass of plastic, which is her tails behind her, as well as her very long hair, I would say that's a pretty dang good deal. A lot of like white to light blue gradation in her hair, as well as those tails, and then like her top is a semi-translucent piece, or pieces, depending on how it's connected. Hard to say because I don't have all the angles of it. You do have to support the tails in the back though. The feet are not enough to support this figure, so just keep that in mind. And then finally, we had 3 Hobby Sakura figures, 2 in the Elf Sisters line, Feniel and Myciel, for I think both 23,700 yen. We saw these 2 very recently. I think I made the comment that they kind of look like they could fit alongside the Vertex Elf Village line, but they're their own thing. One's a knight, one's like a priestess, summoner, a mage. Who could say? I'm gonna go with like a priestess. That's the thing that comes to me first when I look at her character design and the book that she's holding. A bit more voluptuous, this girl, whereas the other one's a bit more petite, though I do love that sword. It's like as big as her, which is fun. I like that. They're both very suggestive though. And speaking of which, we're ending with a huge one, literally. The Dokugan Ryuchan, illustration by Mataro, 1/6 scale for 23,000 yen. You would think this would cost way more money considering how thick this character design is, and her hair is pretty dang long too. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I should be showing this. I might censor it a little bit just because I'm not sure if there's some slippage or not. But yeah, she's a pretty thick one, whether on the top or the bottom. Also a dragon girl though, also has the eye patch. Kinda sick. They could have made this more modest and I still would have liked it, but they wanted like the sex appeal to just be like through the roof here. And that's fine, that's the industry, right? I get it. But yeah, that's gonna do it for our pre-order roundup for October. Might be the longest one if like the beginning part takes way too long to get through. I don't really know what I even said at this point, because this recording was like over 10 hours with the break or something. But don't worry about that. That's my issue to worry about. Either way, thanks for watching. I'm back, more videos soon, and I'll catch you guys very soon for the next one. Later.